on health care, you want that money to go to a doctor, to nurse, to medicine. You want it to go in a way that keeps people healthy or cures their illness. You don't want 30% of your health care dollars going to profiteering or bureaucracy or killing. In terms of what's going on collectively in this nation, I will tell you a brief story. About 7 or 8 years ago, I was with a congressional delegation. I went to China. We landed in Shanghai. And by the way, when we were in China, we had the opportunity of seeing all of the American corporations who are building extensively in China after they threw American workers out on the street, which is why, among other things, we have got to rethink fundamentally this disastrous trade policy. I think trade is a good thing, but you have to have a trade among equals. It is unfair to tell American workers that you can't compete against people in China who make 50 cents an hour and go to jail when they try to organize a union. That's not fair competition. And there's something wrong in this country. You know, Jeff was making a joke about all this wonderful new technology that never works for anybody. But I think that's a profound point. Because here's the point. Last 20 years, we have seen an explosion in technology, in robotics. And the end result is that as a nation, our working people have become much more productive. That's a good thing. But what productivity should mean is if I'm producing more, I should make more money, not less money. If I am producing more, I should work fewer hours, not longer hours. You know, I can remember, and it's important, and I think Jeff is absolutely right, to educate people, put things in an historical context. I can remember, I know for the young people here, you won't believe me, but this is true. There was once a time in the United States of America, hard to believe, where one worker, in those days often the man, could work 40 hours a week and actually support the family. I know you don't believe me, but that was true. And the question that we have got to ask ourselves is, what the hell happened? You got all the international trade, you got all the deregulation of the financial institutions, you got all of the computers, you got space-age technology, and the average American today is working longer hours for lower wages. And what's happened is that all of those benefits, all of that wealth has gone to the top 1 or 2% and not gone to the middle class of this country. And the challenge that we face, and trust me, it is not an easy challenge. John Keeney knows it, and I know it, because we're up against it every single day. That for these people who throw American workers out on the street, that these people on Wall Street who are engaged in derivatives rather than lending money to small and medium-sized businesses to grow jobs, these people have an enormous amount of power. And to a significant degree, they heavily influence what goes on in Washington. I think Jeff asked the right question. And that is, if the vast majority of the people in this country are working people, if the vast majority of the people in this country are struggling to keep their heads above water, if the vast majority of the people in this country want to do well by our kids and our parents, why the hell do a handful of rich billionaires run this country? Why? That's the question we've got to ask. So what we need is a political revolution. That's what we need. And what does that mean? It's basically what Jeff was laying out here. This is what we've got to do. We've got to work on a number of levels. Number one, we have to be very conscious that a lot of the information that people get are lies. So you have a situation where you have a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate, and if you turn on talk radio almost any place in America, what do you think you're going to be hearing? Right-wing extremist garbage. And lie after lie after lie. I have conservative friends. I respect some of those people. They're all, not by me. I mean, you know, people can disagree with you, or honest, decent people. But many of these people on right-wing radio, they're lying all the time. That's what they're doing. They're literally creating a parallel universe that many people believe because they don't hear anything else. And that is why we have to focus on media. How does it happen that 90% of talk radio is extreme right-wing?
Who owns it?
That's right. Who owns it and why it is that? We got to work on that. We got to work on educating our own members, which was Jeff was talking about. We got to figure out that. But we also need to understand is that those people who tell you every single day that government is your enemy are doing nothing more than representing the big money interests. And we heard an interesting example. I mean, the Republican Party has gone very, very, very far to the right, as all of you know. Some of you may have read recently, it's a fellow named Rand Paul from Kentucky. He won the Republican nomination. And this is the future of the Republican Party. This is what this guy says. You see, what he says under the guise of freedom and liberty, yeah, well, we all believe in freedom and liberty. This state gave us freedom and liberty back in the 1770s. We understand that. But freedom and liberty, to their mind, means that if you're black or gay, a restaurant owner has the right to say, you can't gain entrance. Because we don't want to interfere with the freedom of the person who owns that restaurant. Well, we fought 200 years to defeat that, and we ain't going back to that one. And they believe, this far-right mentality believes in the freedom of BP to destroy the environment of America. Because we don't want to interfere with the workings of BP. We don't want to investigate what they are doing. We don't want to make sure that oil companies cannot continue to do the horrendous things that some of them are doing. But we don't believe in that. Our value system is a very different system. And it's one that I am proud to share with all of you. What we believe is that if your kid is sick, my kid is sick. That if your parent can't get the health care that he or she needs, that's my parent who can't get the health care that he or she needs. We understand that when we work together, when we represent all of us, and we reach out to our brothers and sisters, we can utilize the wealth and creativity and intelligence of this country to create a decent nation for all of our people. A nation where all people have health care, where all of our kids, regardless of income, can get a wonderful education from child care through graduate school. We understand, as already exists, I had the ambassador from Denmark come to Vermont a couple of months ago. Do you know how many weeks of paid vacation by law is guaranteed in Denmark? 6 weeks. When you have a baby in Denmark, you get 6 months off and you get paid when that happens. We can do those things. I mean, we can create a society that works for all of us and not just for the people on top. And you guys and the trade unions of this country are in the forefront of that struggle. You have given us so much already over the decades. And it is terribly important that you continue to organize, continue to grow, continue to stand tall, not only for your own members, but for every working American. So I am just so proud to be here tonight. I am proud of having worked with you for so many years, and I look forward to continue working with you. Thank you all very much.